your next MP, Isaac Buchanan.
Since him come in this place, we have a little turn up of violence.
There are attempts to malign and the assassination of character. The member of parliament who is running against me goes on TV and says,
they can send an ex-convict in the same parish and get any control.
Well, the response to that is you left out the context, criminal lawyer.
Fresh from prison. Vibes Cartel and his co-accused
Conviction of Jamaican dancehall icon Vibes Cartel has been overturned today.
What people try to do is to take away from my resume. You don't say Isaac Buchanan, the rehabilitated, deported Jamaican that found his way to the Privy Council.
Can I ask Mr. Buchanan, while you're addressing us on the Charter?
The dynamics of the Jamaican society is the importance of protecting the least among us and free the artists that every time it comes to Jamaica, the MP and have to run go each upon their mom and take picture.
Fresh from prison, a brand new king is risen.
I've had 4 different representatives sent to me, and now we have a deportee.
The constant theme on any platform, because politics is running now, is that Isaac Buchanan, the 2-time convicted drug dealer. Because you can't size up with me, not in this life. And in time, y'all gonna know.
What God has planned for you, no path can curse
Take it to them anytime, anyhow, and anywhere. Nationally, internationally, hemisphere.
Right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. No, I heard them say life much better you live it your own way.
Greetings, and today is July 31st, 2025, and you are tuned into Context Matters. If you're tuned into Reggae Global Radio, our flagship station, welcome. If you are tuned into TikTok, tap up the screen and share the live. Send me lions if you're feeling the vibe. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like Freedom Street kind of thing. It's July 31st, so don't itch with the gifts. Now, if you're tuned into YouTube, welcome. Kesu, I see you walking in divine purpose. Big up yourself. Herbert Tolson, big up yourself. Merlene, Fade Sharon Clark, Angela Toms, Gigi Jones. Yeah, you know how it is. Today is a very interesting day. It's always interesting to see how the Constitution of Jamaica works. You know, the irony is we have a whole ministry dedicated to the Constitution, but what happens there is zero thought of the protection of rights for the people and a vision for how Jamaica is to treat with its citizens moving into the future. That is why very soon people will go to the polls, and when they do, the change that Jamaica needs will happen. You will wake up and Mark Jefferson Golden will be the next Prime Minister of Jamaica. And of course, Isaac Buchanan, the Member of Parliament for Portland Eastern. These things are written. When I say these things, they say, shut up, you talk too much. But you know how it goes. What I want to say, though, is I had a very, very wholesome, full, interesting day in court. There are times when we in life take things for granted. Like there is a great pleasure and joy being an attorney, being able to protect, defend, and advocate for human rights, certainly in Jamaica. And I'm reminded of being a part of one of the most seminal cases, important cases in Jamaican history, and certainly watched by the world, having been congratulated by several leaders across Africa and across the Caribbean for the outcome of the Sean Campbell and others, aka Vibes Cartel case, and remembering the vitriol on social media. And at the time there was a blogger, Sir P, who was 100% sure that, you know, I couldn't pull off, and such a monumental case. And there were people who were saying that I couldn't speak before the Privy Council and all the things, an idiot lawyer. Now fast forward on a day like today, when the Court of Appeal in Jamaica sending concern and prayers and hope for the Court of Appeal. There was a fire there yesterday, which would have caused many cases which would have been heard and decided today for it to be as victorious and monumental as last year. Didn't get to happen because of the fire. But my prayers are with them. That is where the wheels of justice turns on one side of King Street when it doesn't work out on the other side. But it's a signal of where we are to go as a nation. And so today, as I celebrate the Constitution of Jamaica and its ability to contain injustice, giving effect to rights such as due process, right to life, freedom of expression, understanding that there must be respect for the Constitution and a remedy. I was taught by the most erudite Miss Dorcas White out of the Norman Manley Law School. I oftentimes know that she's observing, and when her hat comes out, the reverence is shown by many. Some of the greatest men and women that walk the Caribbean was taught by her in relation to remedies. And when it comes to constitutional redress, recalling last year that the delay in this case and the quest from the office of the DPP to have a retrial, notwithstanding the egregious constitutional breaches, I'm just always happy to have the conversation, knowing that it was a victory for the Constitution, and through such a victory, the world was given back its national treasure, who is doing well on the world stage with his touring. And Sean Campbell, in his own right, is also keeping his birthday celebration. It probably not birthday, but yeah, rebirth celebration in London. Many persons didn't believe such a thing could happen, and there's nothing like free. They say ain't no feeling like being free when your mind's made up and your heart, you know. That's it. That's freedom. It doesn't let you down. What freedom looks like, you know, set my people free, let my people go. That kind of victory was the benefit that was afforded from the Constitution. But most importantly, the credit goes always to God. Hence the term God and time. And yes, God is the greatest, but nothing happens but in his time. And understanding that and remaining humble that whenever God already say that this is how it's supposed to be, all things will come in place. The sea will part when it's ready. The lions will be tamed. The ark will set sail during the tsunamis and the hurricanes and the flooding. And just to know that without God, you shall surely perish. And even those who are sleeping, spiritually dead, can be awakened by God. And look, Chance says everybody are preach. So because Chance is not aware that Isaac went to the United Theological College, and the mother, his mother is Reverend Dr. Joan Porteous. It's nothing new. Growing up in a household where you had to read the Bible and you had to know what spiritual awareness is. This is nothing new. And so we just leave it at that. So I will continue to encourage persons to anchor on God, because many clients that I have, when they met me, they did not have a relationship with God, and introducing them and ministering to them about anchoring your faith on God, because it is God that controls your destiny, your fate, whichever, whether you want to call it fatalism or destiny. It is a true belief in God. And I always encourage people to find your spiritual language, your language to communicate with God. Don't worry about those who judge and speak about whether you're righteous or you're not righteous and all of these things, because a lot of people that's on social media, they're suffering bad. They're hurting, and misery loves company. So kind of ignore that. You find a lot of them who they come over to Context Matters to actually get some form of attention, some form of solace, because they're not finding it anywhere else. I can tell you that. So I welcome everybody. So if it's by chance you're here, chance, take all the knowledge you can get here. And for all of Jamaica, the diaspora, the world, everybody is watching. Jamaica is spelled Jamaica. Don't ever forget that. There is no excuse for misspelling such a word. I'm just putting that out there. It's not by chance that I'm telling you that. Many things happen. Good. So in celebration of that, I will always say that, anchor your faith on God and educate yourself. Not formal education, but always getting to know, finding the knowledge for yourself. In 2025, you don't need to purchase a map. You have Google Map, you have Waze, you have all the tools that you need on cell phones and spaces that can certainly give you an opportunity, yes, to learn something new. With the AI machinery, you can ask questions on AI, and AI kind of put some context to a topic or issue that you may want to familiarize yourself with. So let us not forget that is really a space that you want to find yourself. Find yourself a space that can allow you to grow. Don't be a flower spot. Don't be a vase. Don't be a vase. Don't restrict yourself. Yeah, you want to grow in the fields and grow in the earth. The earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof, and you want to thrive and blossom and bloom into the best version of yourself, right? Yeah, yes, somebody is asking if they can ask me a question. Inbox me and I will check it after the show. Big up yourself. So that being said, big up to all those who got some freedom today, whether by bail, whether by overturning of conviction, whether it be wrongful detention and you're free, some form of constitutional redress, let that happen today. And big up to those who are holding on, knowing that their freedom is coming soon. Let it be said that you speak positive energy into your life and celebrate the freedom. But even in last year, the case of Z Virgo, the young girl who Kensington Primary had breached her constitutional right to freedom of expression. To today, that is such a huge case for me in terms of championing constitutional rights. But then it was just understanding that when you're doing your work, it's always something to celebrate. Last night I heard Damian Crawford on the platform in St. Catherine, and where he was in St. Catherine. It's important to note because the Prime Minister, I want to say, went on a frolic of his own, but I don't even know, intentionally went to Clifton and bulldozed people's houses, in breach of their constitutional rights, in breach of the law. For those of you who don't know, squatting is a legal act. It is the first process in adverse possession. It is something that is frowned upon by the elite in society, who thinks that citizens should not own land, while English law, common law, clearly, and even the Registration of Titles Act, and just generally, the law is kind to the use of land. It frowns upon people just owning a whole heap of land and having it sit idle, when housing solutions, places to farm, places to live is of such importance. And even the slave masters knew that and allowed for the usage of land. And so they encourage adverse possession, and this is all over the world. In some places, you can just move into the house if it sit idle, and they can't get you out. And then you go down to City Hall and you say, hey, I'm in there, and you take it over. So is it where a squatter is on land and they're using the land and they're building house and they're doing all of these things. And then the Prime Minister took it upon himself to go over Clifton and bulldoze because he had an interest in the land. And he told a lie that the land was being used by the Klansman gang and made up some horrible so-called police intelligence that was a complete lie. The end of the day, it ended up being that some teacher who knew somebody, and there was some selling of land, and the matter is still before that. But the matter went to court. The matter is in court. Subsequent to that, there were some of them that they got their houses back. But I heard Damian, remind me that I participated in Clifton, and shortly after that, they went to Louadisville. And so there's just a lot of people in these spaces that you help. Mark Golding, I must say that, the leader of opposition, never fails to take up his phone and say, ISAT, this is happening. Is it something that you can do? What do you think about this? And I always say, comrade leader, let me check it out. And right there and then it happens. And we got an injunction in terms of Louadisville. And I can tell you, be very kind to public servants, government workers. It's not all of them behave and conduct themselves like the current government. There are workers in the public sector that they have compassion and they have humility and they have empathy, something that is lost in terms with this government. And I can tell you, the registrar of titles, NLA, whatever you want to call it, it's working out. Let me just say it like that. And intervening to ensure that citizens are not disenfranchised and have a part of land. When I heard Damian speak of it, I said to myself, sometimes you forget the type of work that you're doing in terms of defending the least among us. I'm going to call it like that, because it's not everybody, and society always counts on that. It's not everybody going to find the money. One of the biggest reasons now why the People's National Party more than anything is advocating for the CCJ, and it's ironic I'm talking about this on the day that the big case that went to the Privy Council was decided out of Jamaica and Cartel and others free. One of the biggest reasons there's advocacy to go to the CCJ is because it's cheap and it's opening access to justice for all Jamaicans. And people just must understand that. My views on the CCJ and the Privy Council is that the judges of the CCJ are competent and they're also a lot more au fait with regional matters, constitutional matters, because constitutional law is the bedrock of criminal law in countries where the Constitution is the supreme law. In England, where you have parliamentary supremacy, it's different when constitutional supremacy reigns, something that is lost on this current government. But I'm sharing this because we have to educate ourselves to emancipate ourselves. And a colleague of mine, while I sat in court today, I could give you a lot of jokes in court in terms of senior counsels who are on the other side and just having the type of warmness at the bench, at the bar, notwithstanding the hostile political climate and the guidance that you can get from senior attorneys. But to understand more than anything is that if we're believing in access to justice, if we're giving effect to constitutional rights, then it's a natural progression and a natural process that I want people to understand, that we need to take Jamaica to a place where we won't wake up and 200 men, young men, I can say that at my age, I can call people young when they're 40 and younger, just murdered extrajudicially. If you know the case of R.V. Clegg, when security forces kill people and it's not justified, it's murder. It cannot be anything other than murder. And the circumstances remains unfortunate. I'm constrained to say that I always have to bring it up, and I will show a video when the Prime Minister, when he was the leader of opposition and before he was a doctor, he displayed empathy and compassion, and he frowned upon extrajudicial killings, and he said it was not the answer. And certainly his vision for sleeping with your doors and your windows open at night never include the extrajudicial killing of 200 citizens of Jamaica under questionable circumstances. Eyewitness testimony in relation to what took place in some of these places, and the mothers and the family members of men who are upstanding citizens, who are business owners in communities that lost their lives. And behind it is as nefarious as how young Alex Needham lost his life, and his father was put on a trial for chopping the officer who murdered him. And lo and behold, the officer is now charged for murder, not once, but this is the second time being charged. And what that looks like. And it's not an indictment on the JCF, save and except for we know for a fact that because the human being is not perfect, the importance of constitutional protection will always reign free. And in order to get it right, we have to think about the introduction of an Innocence project that will certainly account for all the young people that are languishing in prison because of bad witnesses, bad investigation. I'm just putting it out there because it cannot sit well with me that the murder rate is said to be down, but yet 200 citizens with the greatest of potential, especially where, as a young man who has experienced rehabilitation and know the importance and effect of it, and living in a country under a government that is anti-rehabilitation. They don't want convicts to fix their lives and become upstanding citizens. They don't want role models. They don't want markers and examples of how to reintegrate into society so that crime can be reduced realistically on the criminological scale. So crime and criminology is understanding the criminology is understanding the science of crime and looking at the statistics over a 10-year period to see how crime can be reduced and whether it can stay that way over a period of time after suppressive methods, i.e. the state of emergency was one of the reasons why the prime minister has become the murder prime minister, responsible for the most murders in the history of this country under his watch. And using reclassification and public relations to not address the problem rather than respecting the Constitution, empowering community, empowering churches, and just re-energizing schools, putting back respect to the teaching profession, and just educating generally, so that when ideas, thoughts, and the context through which an idea is live and ripe for simulation and integration, it is not thrown to the side because they don't understand the difference between some versus all. In this day and age, you can't speak the truth about people in the someness rather than people saying it's everybody that you're speaking about. It's a strange phenomenon. So I will just say it like that. So yes, today is one of those days where I will always have the conversation pre-emancipation and inviting people to emancipate yourself from mental incarceration. The mental slavery is something that we have to work on, but for persons who self-sabotage and self-incarcerate and settling for less, in it, and not being in a position to tell your sons and daughters that they don't have to settle for being less or just what's available, that they should just strive for more, to always want to be better, to be able to say that, listen, I'm a part of a society that I'm contributing, and I'm a nation builder, and I'm included in all that is good when it comes to my country. And that is the space where we have to kind of differentiate between order and chaos. And so I start there. I would have studied philosophy in the 90s and was actually studying it. So I studied theology and then transitioned to philosophy. And at first glance, one would say that, to get a philosophy degree is foolishness. but there's many, some of the greatest minds in this world. If you think of Socrates and Aristotle, and if you think of Plato, Thomas Aquinas, Imhotep, if you think of these philosophers, and philosophers sometimes are also lawyers, they're also doctors, they're persons that come up with theories. So yeah, if I would go as far as saying, I think Sigmund Freud, notwithstanding that he's some psychologist, is a philosopher. So we think of this, and while doing the philosophy, we realize that there are many ways to challenge the status quo. And then you realize, my colleague said to me today when I was in the bench, I might have not said it, that if it were not for people like you, Isaac, we would still be in slavery. That's the biggest compliment that somebody can give to me. It is the utmost humbling reality for me to say, somebody says, listen, you are a freedom fighter, and you challenge the status quo. And that's a training within philosophy. So a part of education is that the lessons that are being given to you, you may very well hear it and you want to reject it, and in an effort to reject it, the law is developed, or you learn something that which you were opposing is definitely the correct method and you were wrong, but through the banter, through the opposition, the law or the theory or the practice changes or remains is what is important. And so I always will encourage, more so, they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I don't believe that, but you're never too old to learn. So those are the oxymorons. But it is through that it caused me to realize that when you're looking at anything, you have to look at the context. That's why this show is birthed, context matters. So the Bible speaks of two things: BC, which is before Christ. Then they said AD, which is after the death of Christ, and it narrates itself through that space. But after that, what we also understand is that there's something called the common era, the Christian era, but the common era. But the Council of, and you know what, I'm not even going to go there. I will say this: the Egyptians were there, Greek mythology is there. Out of that, we know that there are 72 telling of the story of Jesus. So there are 72 Jesus across the world, and that story. And Greek mythology sets them out as well. I'm raising this to say that when we think of chaos and we think of order, we know about the universe, and through the universe, out of this Big Bang, which is the science aspect of it, some structure and some order came around, and they taught us about 9 planets, and then we realized that it's really 8 in our solar system, but then there's many other planets in the multi-universe and all of that, and the spectrum of time and translation in terms of language and discovery. If we take the Christopher Columbus approach, we think that nothing is in this world until Christopher Columbus discovered it, but we know that's not the case. when we look at the evidence by archaeology and by just landmark, we get a sense that many things were before us. They spoke about the Ice Age. Dinosaurs were there. Fossils are now showing us that there were giants. And so when David killed the Goliath, we know say is really one giant him did knock down. But what is of importance is understanding structure. And the Bible spoke of a family and the lineage and the generations that came through the family. So we know in every story there is a main character, and you follow the theme as you go around. And so creation, as we know it, is about setting out God's divine order. Let me put it that way. It is important to know that even when we think about crime, it speaks about having the specific mens rea, your mind already accepting that you're going to do a particular thing. And then after your mind comes the action, which is the actus reus. When the mens rea and the actus reus is committed in the absence of a justification or a defense, then you're criminally liable for your conduct. Because of that, there are something called inchoate offenses. And the inchoate offenses, which would be attempted murder, incitement, and conspiracy. I'm explaining this to you because I'm sure if a chef was here, he or she would say, if you're going to cook, you have to prepare. Preparation for cooking the dish would mean cutting up the vegetables, scaling the fish, seasoning the fish, procuring the seasoning and all of that, and make sure you have the oil. And then if a fry, you put on the skillet. And then if you use Spam or you use Anchor butter or chiffon, baby, you do me good. Then you do that, or you just use coconut oil or olive oil, and then you put on the pot, and then you turn on the stove, and then it get hot, and then you do all of that stuff, and you do the thing them like them do, and then you go sow the salt and sprinkle it, and that is the creation of that master dish. So all the things that you need, you conceptualize in your mind. Having done that, or having conceptualized those things, then it is that we are tired of those who facilitate and enable invaders who extract our lands, and the poor people have no land. That we know, and we fight them. We fight them for Blue Lagoon. We fight them for Prospect Beach. We fight them for Winifred Beach. We fight them for Boston. We fight them for Mansion Hill. We fight them for Naval Island. We fight them in St. Thomas. We fight them in Montego Bay. We fight them right across Jamaica. We fight them in Spaces. We fight them in Clifton. We fight them in Loyalsville. We fight them in Norwich Heights. Yeah? We fight them anywhere them they are thief the land. We have to fight them. Somebody said, what about making the KFC at home? The Colonel has never revealed his 16 herbs and spices, so I can't speak to that. But here's what I will say, though, that with going back, so I can't cook, so I just gave you what I think the chef and all of those people need. Yeah, you need the apron and you need the chef hat, and you have to make sure you wash the area and all of those things, and that you have a clean kitchen when you're doing what you're doing. But I was saying is that the law don't punish you for thinking, for thought, even though in recent times it's getting there. You know that there was a case called Shaw and DPP, and not long after that, Nulla. Shaw was convicted of living off the proceeds of prostitution. I'm looking at it and it's very similar to the same charge that Puff Daddy is charged for. And that case was very interesting because it was a case of immorality. The any attack on morality, and then the conversation starts about whether law and morality should go hand in hand. And in this day and age, where we see people not having a problem with selectively what type of crimes or the public outrage, and they go all of that, and then you have the Minister of Justice who is against revealing the sexual offenses registry. But a 13-year-old, just this week, there was a rape attempt against her, and here in Portland, you have people who work for MPs who are charged for rape. Right in the middle of them talking about, we need to protect our children from those type of people. So it's very, very, very interesting in terms of law and morality. But to say that even as I speak all of that, the law doesn't punish people for the thoughts that they have. So it's one thing to say that I want somebody dead, and it's the in-court crime doesn't come into play until you take active steps to get somebody dead. Just as how the law does not punish you for having imperfect or inappropriate thoughts, is when you act on those thoughts and take active steps that it becomes criminal. And I'm seeing legislation that is trying to criminalize or punish people for expression and thought, to regulate what is appropriate versus inappropriate. And it's also a societal thing, because freedom of speech in America is great. It's great to the point where you can curse the president and people aren't punished for it, like it takes place here in the Jamaican space, where if you speak your mind on something and the person is a prominent person, they'll punish you for that because of the prominence of the person. And that's because Jamaica operates under a two-society system, revealed by the Jamaica Labour Party, that the two societies, the opulent one that the Jamaica Labour Party wants to run, is spelled J-A-I, also J-A-I-M-A-I-C-A, something like that. And then there's Jamaica Land We Love. So it's two Jamaicas that's existing, and those from the J-A-I-M-A-I-C-A, them can't go jail. And if it's their kids and their kids go on a plane with weed, they get brought before the court, and then the matter disappear, and the police might have to go to foreign or lose them job, and the case file missing, and you don't hear about it anymore. Or they rape somebody, and then somebody else get charged for the rape and the murder, and then it disappear and nobody talks about it anymore. Just the two Jamaicas. But what we do know, which is important, is getting Jamaica to be one Jamaica, where nobody is greater or better than the next. So somebody said no one coming to look for you on the exactly. But these days, you don't have to stay on the internet and curse anybody. You might just be walking in halfway tree and see them a look, vote, and a beg vote. So how it is where you might think that you're sitting on a throne, but there are no subjects to rule, and so you have to come out to find out, where have all my subjects gone? And so that humbling experience for people is exactly why when people say, what do you mean by time come? It's demonstrated every single day. When you have a man like Delroy Chuck, Dep and Barbican right on the bank, belly big like I don't know what, and sun upon him. No sunblock can help him. Going to get skin cancer right now if you stand up in the sun because it's not black. And when him there out there try, because Stacey Knight, Stacey Knight have Delroy turn up in the sun in the day. Leave it alone. I mean, I believe Stacey a big lawyer, so I'm sure she'll defend me. She's the sheriff's daughter. But anyway, Starboy daughter. So listen, that is telling. It's very telling, and it's just to see government officials turning the loader man and the window wipers of Jamaica, just to try to say to them, ignore our corruption. We have a 60-page document of the corruption that we did, but we won't release that one. We want to give you things that we have done in the last 9 years, and include the school bus, and include St. Thomas Urban Center of achievements in the last 9 years. School bus never gone 1 year worth of busing, and that's an achievement. And I tell you, even this thing about land amnesty announced this month and finds its way into an achievement and saying how many persons benefited from an amnesty that just started. Let me tell you something. I'm always say Tom drunk, but Tom no fool. And it's one of the reasons why if you really want to see your people elevate, you're always gonna have to educate. And I'm begging while I advocate to never let anybody shy away from education. Take it from a man that didn't even like education. And if not for a mother, like, and I say her name all the time, the Reverend Dr. Joan Portius. And I don't know about you and your mother, but if you have a mother that when you do so, when you say something and you hear she go, I don't even know how to spell that, but it is a Jamaican mother's expression that says to you, you can say what you want, but you better do this. So if you're saying, she say, you know, I go to school, and you say, no, I not like school. She say, that's her way of saying you're going to go to school for me, even if you don't want it. So shout out to the parents, not just mothers, and grandparents, and uncles and aunts, and communities that say, and force the children to go to school and fight, right? And fight for them to take them book. Bounty Killer did say book. Uno pressure uno book. That is something. So always in my head, a part of my internal locus of control is my mother's voice. So you say anytime, yeah, I want to say something, I hear my mother say, yeah, that somebody spell it for me. Because it need to go in the dictionary. When mother say that means that you have to take your book and give me my degree, then you can go waste your life. Because I can tell you, if not for my mother, I'd have no education and no opportunity to recover. I have to say it like that, Mind you, my father and my brother, Zambo, big up yourself, Zambo. Them pay my school fee. I owe them, but I go and dodge them a little bit, They paid my school fee. So I'm always happy to say that. Big up yourself, big up my mom. Big up my mom. That's always troubling my dad. And my dad said, "Come on," and she said, But anyway, they don't watch. The good thing about it, they don't watch me because I don't think they have the notification, so they're not watching me. Yeah. But anyway, the importance of what I am saying and sharing with everybody. I know it sounds like I'm rambling, but I promise you, I'm not rambling. I am speaking on how it is that when you have good family, when you have family support, no care how the world come at you, and even when you make mistakes, because mistakes were made to be made. It was made to be made. We are not perfect human beings, you know. But if we can prevent other persons, experience teaches wisdoms. That's how I learned to survive. I learned by my mistakes, and good times I don't forget. And if one thing I know, my mother always said, when you're rum and your money done, then you know your friends. Prodigal son, aka. No man, the moderators them all right, man. Queen Bee, the people who are here that looking attention, we don't see them. My moderators leave them generally because I don't read some of those comments. I see them, but I just ignore them. So we just always have to think about that, and it is in that vein that I want to speak something about education. And this is the time of year that we're talking about it, you know, because the whole of Portland Eastern, and I know Doreen can tell me, Portland West, they want the book grants and they want the vouchers because it's back to school. What I will say, and I'm going to take this opportunity, is I hear everybody. I'm just a candidate, you know. I don't get I don't have the government money, and me not gonna get none of Desmond $130 million that's supposed to go to the people all across Jamaica for back to school. But I know one thing: the next Mark Jefferson Golden administration must put things in place for back to school. Education is the great liberator. And so may I call it now, you know, because the level of my advocacy, me not have to practice this. Me not going to parliament for not bench. Me going to parliament for legislate. Me going to parliament to improve the lives of the Jamaican people. So, to Portland, East Portland, and I'm speaking up for the West as well, because Doreen and I are consensus ad idem in terms of the vision for Portland. I'm going to talk about it on the next hour, in the next hour. But to say that those of you, because if your MP don't give you the book voucher and don't fill the book list, which she's supposed to do, because the monies in the development fund is used for other purposes rather than the improvement of the people's lives, there are policies that must be put in place. That being said, you know, this is my plea, and me I wink twice, because you see the mothers here in Portland, when them ready for bad me up and say, I want my book grant and me want it now. You don't think I'm JG Wentworth 877 cash now, because me have to go get book. So diaspora people, send the barrel them with the books and the pencils and the sharpeners, and if you have electronic access to some of these books, send them to me so I can have them uploaded on the 3,250 tablets that were given out in Portland Eastern to the students in Portland. And yeah, it's that time of year where there are some bright students that did well in PEP. I didn't get to go to all of the graduations, and just students that I think did extremely well in, you know, going to the next level. I'm proud of all of them. I'm proud of the parents and the siblings and just the families that understand that education is the great liberator, and is now taking an interest into ensuring that them picnic want to be the great, go into the noble professions regardless of whether them not have the money. That's what we're striving for, you know. We're striving so people don't try to publicly shame you for having a little intelligence. They don't publicly shame you for being bright. So I am open to any suggestions in terms of how we're going to disseminate the back to school. And the diaspora is always they always rescue me. Appreciate everybody who has thus far sent barrels with books and pencils. Those who have received at the end of it all, like I said, we're not going to confuse and we're not going to frustrate. The government has given out allocations, and in terms of for the back to school, this is why it is important when you are voting in local government elections that you know who your councillors are and that you get the right councillors and that your councillors really want to see your children educated. Big up to Wayne Mackenzie and Dexter Rowland. Yeah, and Portland, the next local government election, this is why you have to make sure you make the right decision so that we march. Now, it's not just march into victory, but march into the improvement of a better Jamaica, a better life. Because we want to be able, to look on them and say, yo, give me a $5 grand, because I'm rich, look rich. It's the most liberating feeling when the people around you are able to help others, because that is what community building is about. I'm just going to say that. So I hope I've addressed the back to school thing, and to say that though the tablet drive is finished, where the need arises is something to look at. I don't know what that means yet. Save on, if I was pastor, the pastor I'd say, I hear Norwich, I hear Port Antonio. Anyway, let me leave it like that. So I want to talk about one particular thing because it's ironic. I have my booklet out. And don't worry, all words spelled in my booklet is spelled properly. There are no typographical errors, whether digital or in print. And I was looking at multiple things on TikTok that says that the PNP is bankrupt with ideas, yet all the ideas in my pamphlet, my manifesto, my local vision for Portland is being spewed around as fresh ideas. And what do I mean by fresh ideas? Well, if it is that we say we're going to turn the hospital, because I'm bringing the heat, everybody knows this by now, and I'm going to turn the hospital from C-type to A-type. All of a sudden, we're going to turn the hospital in a this and that, and we're going to improve this. That's some more market me behavior. But at the top of the hour, we're going to talk some more about it. And again, remember my contextualizers, the students of Context Matters. we hear people, ad hominem, attacking the person is a last resort. They say when you know the law, you argue the law. When you know the facts, you argue the facts. When you don't have nothing, when you're not standing on none of those, law and fact, you attack the person. So it's no wonder they're going to say my nose is big. It's no wonder last May is going to give me a sledgehammer and say, I come into Brock Vars, and then they draw them and turning this thing into a big circus. Yeah? It's no wonder that that people would diminish your achievements and try to nullify things that if it were their friends who were the opulent people and the vavavoons and the white people in this society, the elite of this society, if their sons and daughters were the lawyers who were able to do that. The irony that you put out as a black lawyer and go all the way to England, and the people who get respected and the people with the titles, they'll sue you, they'll want to take it to the GLC, they'll want to do everything, and the client will sit and say, oh, it's nothing. It's a very interesting thing. But a great lawyer once told me that, may our soul rest in peace, just love the law and fornicate with the law. Because clients, yeah, so we are at the top of the hour. So let me reintroduce, for those of you who just joined in, let me share with you my response to ad hominem.
Introducing you to your next MP, Isaac Buchanan.
Since him come in this place, we have a little turn up of violence.
There are attempts to malign and the assassination of character. The member of parliament who is running against me goes on TV and says,
They can say an ex-convict in the same parish and get any control.
well, the response to that is you left out the context. Criminal lawyer.
Fresh from prison. Vibes Cartel and his co-accused
Conviction of Jamaican dancehall icon Vibes Cartel has been overturned today.
What people try to do is to take away from my resume. You don't say Isaac Buchanan, the rehabilitated, deported Jamaican that found his way to the Privy Council.
Can I ask Mr. Buchanan, while you're addressing us on the Charter?
The dynamics of the Jamaican society
Yes.
is the importance of protecting the least among us and free the artists that every time it comes to Jamaica, the MP and have to run go each upon their mom and take picture.
Fresh from prison. A brand new king is risen.
I've had 4 different representatives sent to me, and now we have a deportee.
The constant theme on any platform, because politics is running now, is that Isaac Buchanan, the 2-time convicted drug dealer. Because you can't size up with me, not in this life. And in time, y'all gonna know.
What God has planned for you, no God can curse it.
Take it to them anytime, anyhow, and anywhere. Nationally, internationally, hemisphere.
It's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right. It's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. No, I heard them say life much better you live it your own way.
The aspect I want to talk about now, for those of you who have just joined, I am Isaac Buchanan, attorney at law, host of Context Matters from Reggae Global Radio and Reggae Global TV, also on YouTube and TikTok. Tap up the screen, share the live, send me money guns, send me lines. You know what it is. But anyway, I was talking about education, and there is a vision for education in any society. If you want a society to thrive, the more educated the society, the less there will be crime, the more the less the devil will find work for idle doers. And certainly when crimes are committed, it would be solved much quicker. Corruption would be reduced because the cadre of members of parliaments will be reduced in incompetence and lack of capacity and increase. And through that, the internal locus of control, which will be responsible for integrity, accountability, and a sense of respect, empathy, compassion, all of those things which are the tenets of leaders will be individually and collectively. So persons won't participate and sit and be okay to be presented as a part of the guessing game as to who are the illicit members in going into the next election and what that will look like. Why were they investigating and what are the scumpy behaviors they're having? So the corruption would be down. We would be marching to Singapore, getting to where Singapore is, and the lives of the citizens, even the citizen that don't want nothing out of life, would have to pick themselves up because society would be able to do that. And so if there is a home or a shelter, there will be less persons in suffrage and a reduced life, less than that of humanity, that they could be cared for. And we would have a welfare system that would not be dehumanizing. For instance, to get on the PATH program, you can't have you must not have a flushing toilet. Or if your house look too good, them say you don't qualify. Just those little things is what is important. Good. So naturally, when you think about those things now, we talk about vision. So recently, well, when I first came to Portland, I did assessments with a qualitative amount of students to find out the learning capacity of students, and finding out that there were some students with whether you want to call it behavioral issues or learning disorders. And learning disorders, mental disorders, doesn't mean that the child is don't want to be politically incorrect, because I don't want nobody to say I'm saying, but they're mentally incapacitated or not on the normal spectrum. And I'm saying this in the context that the Jamaican IQ is mostly 70 or below, or 76, which is below average. But more so, an alarming report would have said that the preschool children of preschool age are now displaying learning deficiencies at a high rate. It simply means then that we have a education system that is going to be burdened with students that are not going to be marching along with the norms. Put on top of that, teachers being underpaid, schools being not under-maintained or not maintained at all. The learning environment is not conducive to self-respect and learning. Children fighting for chairs and desks, children in classrooms that chichi and yam down, no light, no in the ceiling, no fans, no AC where necessary, especially when the school year runs up into the summer term. So just those things that require basic human dignity, basic human decency, what access to education looks like, equality across the board, equity, so that traditional high schools that have alma maters across the world that come back and give them school buses, donate school buses, and build a swimming pool and put a track on the field and upgrade the school, and somebody is a philanthropist and millionaire and just build a whole high school block. Those are things that had nothing to do with government, but that doesn't mean that government doesn't have the obligation to do. So in that vision, it means that when you think of a high school, there must be placement for persons with disabilities. And disabilities does not mean just physical disabilities, but also mental. that vision would mean that you don't put burden on the parents who didn't choose to have a child who is disabled to have to drive all the way to Orange Bay to place their child because you don't have any facilities in close proximity. And one would think that if a child is in a wheelchair, that the school has wheelchair access, that the community has wheelchair access, not just a school bus, but the community is built and ready to accept this child who will become an adult with the same disability. Whether the child is blind, whether the child has Down syndrome, whether the child has autism, where are the facilities? So the vision has to be to have these spaces, and there must be transformation in the educational structure, the physical spaces, as well as integration of specialist teachers and guides, to ensure that wherever you are on the spectrum, you still get quality education. But that aside, because there's an overlap between ministries, so for economic viability, we have to look what our institutions are able to do with the space. So when Damien says that if there are children who are troubled, and we know that the devil find work for idle doers, we don't cast them out and leave them to join gangs and join associations with familiar rejects for them to rise up. We must be able to curtail the dysfunction and the distraction and the derailment of what otherwise would be a great human being in this country. Give them a fighting chance to develop. I saw a video of a young man today. His last name is Brown. It's TikTok. And I'm sharing it now because the young man said, listen, I committed a crime when I was in high school. So he was a juvenile that was found with a firearm and supposedly also committed a robbery with aggravation. So he used the firearm to commit a robbery. And he was in school. And the case traversed through the courts. And the court, one thing I can tell you about the court, back then in 2004, there wasn't child diversion like there is now, but also the court is always understanding into trying to ensure that children get their education. So when they're before the court, they'll put off the matter so the child can take the exam and the child can do whatever to preserve any competence a child have, and that they complete their education, because they know that when they go to prison, a part of the rehabilitation is the education, because education is a great liberator. So even the court has that level of competence. And I'm sharing that because when I saw the video this morning and it was brought to my attention by a police officer, and I'm raising it here because it also speaks about the type of reform that's needed in our criminal justice system. So this young man is a juvenile convict because he pled guilty and he served his time in 2004 for the firearm. The legislation was different back then. But whilst in prison, the young man was a part of the education department, also an orderly with the warders orderly. And he, because he was a little bit more bright, he was able to teach in the prison and made his contribution. And then he came out of prison, and then he would go around and speak in schools, and anybody invited him to speak on his experience, and he would speak to the youth to tell them, put down the guns, whatever. And he is an upstanding citizen from 2004, and we're in 2025. That's 21 years ago. And he goes to get an expungement, and he was turned down. as a young man who has never reoffended, a young man that has acted selflessly and has managed to prevent many other young people from going down the road that he went down. That 21-year stain remains a part of his life. His ability to advance in society is thwarted by the lack of ability to get an expungement. And he came to TikTok and he mounted his frustration, which if you saw the video, I don't he's not feeling like he can progress in society because of this sword of, I always say it wrong, Damocles. Because I will say Damascus and them will say me dunce. But yeah, this big clog and fetter in his way. So the response is about thinking of legislation, and there is an expungement act, and it has the spirit of rehabilitation, but also it has some limitations in terms of who can get expungement and for what, which is why in my mind I always take offense to sexual offenses registry, which is kept private, because it will not, it doesn't facilitate rehabilitation. It doesn't allow for public awareness of conduct, and it doesn't allow the public to scrutinize whether or not this person is acting in keeping with society and the reintegration and the promised rehabilitation or the demonstration of rehabilitation. But for this young man who has not found himself in trouble anymore and the law is preventing him, I have reached out and I'm going to have to give him the conversation as to how to use the legislation to get his redress. But a general relook at that law in terms of how to have exceptions to the rules, or a rehabilitation section, tenets of rehabilitation, so that people can actually prove rehabilitation, prove that reintegration was a smooth one, and that because good character is of now, and that's settled in the law, and there are judgments, Isaac Buchanan against the GLC, it is a judgment, and also Ewart Lane is clear in terms of what rehabilitation looks like, what how good character is defined, and whether or not the person is able to demonstrate rehabilitation, and so should that be held against them when somebody has become an upstanding citizen. So that's a conversation to have, but again, it requires mature consideration and legislative reform that comes with a lot of due diligence and care, so that there are no mistakes. And I think those aspects could also bolster why it is that the Innocence project is important, because we cannot be in the business of turning ordinary citizens into criminals and also unable to allow young people and youth offenders a second opportunity to become the best version of themselves. And in the Jamaican space, where not everybody will have an internal locus of control that will allow them to transcend the limitations of a criminal conviction, is something to think about. Having said all of that, here's why education is important, and the overlap is when you have somebody said the court rejects Andrew's affidavit, or Andrew's application to have the affidavit of a prominent person struck out in his bid to silence the Integrity Commission or continue to muzzle the Integrity Commission, as year 4 fast approaches for his statutory declarations. But thanks for telling me that. But my show is not really to really speak on those things. But here's where I was going. So the young man was able to have his education, and through his education, he was able to find what the purpose of punishment, be remorseful, did his time, has not reoffended, has ensured that he is always being selfless in his contribution to his society within his capacity. That being said, it is for him to get the opportunity to continue or further his education if he's so minded and understand the importance of how education can liberate you and assist in your reintegration. Because after conviction and rehabilitation, there has to be an extraordinary act of selflessness that will cause you to raise the bar. But what I can say is preventative measures is what is important. So coming into the space of Portland, and seeing that it is a very large farming community that includes livestock and fishing. And fishing meaning creatures of the sea, and whether or not you fish in season, out of season, may be liable to criminal conviction or paying a fine if you're extracting conch in pounds and lobster in pounds out of season, or if you're catching fish when the fish not big yet. And also eco fishing is important, protecting the coral reef, and all of this start to come very academic, and you realize that the fisher folk need to be educated. It's not just jumping out there and throwing line, and somebody from foreign send you one boat, and then you throw the boat engine on the boat back, and you start vroom vroom up and down. There is some serious protection of the environment, protection of the coral reef. I'm speaking about that more than anything because you start to understand, say, gone were the days where even as a farmer, you just get up and start dig up land, and true, you have green thumb. Get it? Green thumb. Everything just a grow. Good? Because guess what? There are technological advancements that you will need to have to be competitive in a market. Small farmers need to start to think about corporation farming, community farming, uniting and combining to be competitive. Engagement with government for food security, because we're having a food insecurity crisis. Combining to compete against importation while increasing exportation. All of this, there's an education aspect. Knowledge is power. And so we must empower and equip the agricultural sector, the young person who says, me too fly for dirty up my hand. Them need to send a tractor and a backhoe if them want me for farm. Them need to provide certain facilities so that I can make the best use of time and best use of land that my father and mother would have left for me for generations. As well as understanding that we don't just throw cold water on the heat when it's hot because we want to disenfranchise the people. So here is the vision that I spoke of, transforming Case into a university. And yes, I would have, you will hear in the space, we have said this for years. But when it comes to transformation, there's something called methodology. There is something called methodology, and I want people to appreciate that. So I'm just sharing with you now so you understand that the the transformation of case into a university. So let's think of the transformation of case to a university and appreciate that it requires more than political talk on the campaign platform. So case is already a pillar of excellence in the East, but it is time we unlock its full potential, not just as a university, but as a national hub for security, climate resilience, rural innovation, and entrepreneurship. Imagine your case offering bachelor's, master's, and research degrees in addition to its current offerings. Degrees in agribusiness, agriculture, engineering, and agroecology. Imagine local farmers and students working together in high-tech greenhouses, labs, smart classrooms, and smart farms right here in Portland. Just think of that a little bit. Imagine a faculty advancement program to support case. Lecturers pursuing PhDs, postdocs, and partnerships with institutions to build academic prestige. Imagine smart classrooms, agricultural labs, and libraries on campus farm, exposure as living labs for faculty, staff, and students. Now, for me, most importantly, what it means is we would be creating jobs, driving rural development and positioning Portland Eastern as the beating heart of Jamaica's agriculture. So when I speak of bringing the heat, it is about planting seeds for generational growth. Agriculture is one way we can grow. We will grow through agriculture. And every time I talk about food security, nobody thinks I'm greedy, but boy, no, being hungry is the worst thing to be, you know. And as a people, we have become resilient and we know if we hold it. People always say, hold it. Better soon come. Well, time come now for that type of change, for that type of transformation, so that there will be a way to protect the environment, a way to certify farmers, a way to always have research facilities. And so people won't say, oh, ISAT, you think you're bright, or true, you think you're bright, you can talk down to people. No, let me tell you something. Being educated is the best thing that could have happened to me. So thinking of agriculture, case as a university must be that hub for the Caribbean region. And so it will bring jobs and it will create some economic bounce and boost in Portland Eastern and for Jamaica, because the Caribbean nations, our brothers and sisters in CARICOM, will have to send their students to case. It means they'll have to live here, they'll have to work here, they'll have to complete their course of studies, they'll have to eat here. So when I say I'm bringing the heat, it's not a political pitch, but I have to say this. You vote Isaac Buchanan because we will build the university our farmers, our youth, and our country deserves. So it's not just, oh, I got turn. It's the purpose for its transformation and the type of prestige that comes with having a university of that magnitude that services the entire Caribbean. And again, if we're ever going to be competitive in the food export aspect of it, and as well as protect our farmers by reducing importation and empowering them to want to farm, young people, yeah, then believe me when I tell you this, no make nobody get up and tell you because them in a government said them are going to transform case. If they had the capacity and the wherewithal to do it, they would have done it a long time ago. But again, you have to create the posts and the positions, and you have to partner with universities and have exchange programs to ensure that the research aspect of it, especially with climate change as a global crisis, global warming as a serious issue to be observed and studied, and protection of the coral reef to preserve Jamaica, especially at a time when, ironically, Port Royal has become a heritage site for the world. It has to be protected. It is a city that is preserved underwater that went in 1962, or no, 1692, the January 7th earthquake, and Radam, Port Royal sink. That preservation and preserving Jamaica as a, I think Jamaica is all of Jamaica is a heritage site. But you can imagine, when you think of Reach Falls, when you think of Nonsuch Cave, when you think of Moortown, when you think of what Nanny has left here, the legacy of Nanny, when you think of a compound, and many other places all over the world, all over Jamaica, you start to understand what it is. But just understand that when you have a university and expanding it, because it's not just East Portland, the Western campus is going to also have, you must have a vision for the Western campus, because our brothers and sisters are also in the West. And what education look like between two campuses, the East and the Western campus, that is case. And there is a whole agricultural space up in it's Long Road. But when you call it out, then them steal your ideas. Again, let me just calm myself. But I'm passionate about this, and that's why I wanted to share it with you, because on the eve of emancipation, we are supposed to be thinking about inclusion with development, and how it is that an institution such as Case University would benefit the country. The country, the entire country, because there are every year children graduate, and we want to be able to have them freedom of movement across parishes, and know that it's not just foreign. Foreign is for just working at the summer and come back and develop. And so when you start to appreciate this, you won't hear no empty barrel jump up on any platform. When you hear people with sense say, listen, we have eyed some lands that sit in idle, and the land suffers from waterlog, swamplands, if you want to call it. And what we are going to do is to dump up the land and make it habitable. So low income housing solutions can go there, so more houses can be built, in the context that since 1962 the Jamaica Labour Party has only built 11 houses in Portland Eastern. They can't respond. The response from the Prime Minister is not that I sat lie, but that him I go build 1,329 houses between Portland West and Portland Eastern. Him just decide say I'm gonna do that, because them never do it since 1962. But all of these things are solution based. And it would mean that why am I raising this in the middle of speaking about Case as a university? Because research must be important, because where there are farmlands, you don't just take it over and take title feet and say a few own, and then want to develop it and put hotel on it. That must be preserved, and there must be proper research, reports down, funding from international communities, in terms of what the ecology of the space is about and what can be done there. But just to put things in context, if you know anything about Dubai, it's dump up land. All of Dubai is dump up land. And just the other day, you see, them have big announcements, say Arab Emirates Airlines or whatever. Emirates Airlines is coming to Jamaica, and that wasn't the case. But everybody is fascinated by Dubai. Yes, all of Dubai. Them dump up the sea and made islands in Dubai. And this is context matters. Correct me if I am wrong. And so when somebody say, when are they going to build 1,000 houses between East and Westboro? In 2 months, it's not gonna happen. Don't hold your breath on that. You were dead. And BCA said Dubai has oil. So who said Jamaica not have oil? Tell me that. But the point I'm making is this: when somebody dismisses the idea that you can create a space. Portmore is dump up land. Portmore is swamp land. Yes? And I'm putting this out there because I'm completely offended, especially because one of the biggest land grabbing that has ever taken place in Jamaica has been under this administration. People when they had no land, and them have every land. Government officials owning half of a mountain in parishes because nobody is looking, and beachfront and villas and closing parish council roads to the benefit of their families. So when there is talk about providing water and discount for water for senior citizens and it's shut down, when people is saying, look at you don't respect the people because you want to put house in a swamp. Educate yourself and understand that anytime there is housing solutions, and we're talking about low income housing solutions. So for me, it is important not only that we want young people to be educated, we want young people to have them homes and move out of their mother and father house. They must own their own houses so that we can do away with this concept that you must show up to your MP office and ask for zinc and ply and concrete. And so that after politicians take away all the taxpayers' money, we don't care who want vex in a political year, you show up with your big flatbed, a take off zinc and ply and block and everything, and say you're a gateway because you never build house and you never provide housing solutions. Just listen to me, man. I just have to say it like that. So don't take it lightly. And media has done a very bad job as in making the information palatable for persons to accept. And so I know that the election is near, and I'm using my platform because I cannot be bridled or censored in disseminating the information, but to say that I'm not going to descend into the arena and get my hands dirty and reduce myself, not after 5 years of training in the field of law, and the pride that it comes to be a member of the bar. And yes, I've fumbled in my youthful exuberance and passion for the Constitution and fighting for the rights of my clients. But as I said, it comes with experience and time to know that I'm not going to reduce myself. I'm sticking to the issues, and there is a vision for the improvements of the lives of the citizens. There is a thought for me to know that we must improve the relationship between the JCF and the community. The trust is lost, but to do so, there has to be a respect for human life. And if we're going to have respect for human life, it's a re-education of all of that. And we somebody said that the 1833 laws need to be updated, leaving no cracks or wiggle room for corrupt persons. Yeah, it's a total throwout of the larceny legislation and an introduction of the Theft Act with a whole section that says corruption, and the Integrity Commission ought to be given teeth to investigate and bring the matter to court. That's it. You have to empower if you're gonna end corruption, you know. But Mark Golding already said it, you know. You think the accountability meter that's coming in when Mark Golding becomes the prime minister is why you see labor rights pan roadside in a sun hat. I try put out manifesto to stop what is coming. A corruption meter that is so high that people won't know how to conduct themselves. But the vision for this country is Singapore, and the vision for Singapore way before our time was in fact Jamaica. And so you see, nothing new under the sun. The more things change, the more things remain the same. So that is to say that we don't just selectively take from nations that which what we want. When the Constitution is rethought of, and when Jamaica emerges as a republic, it will be one that will not accept the type of corruption that we have seen. It ends. You wake up September morning after the election and realize that you're going into a world where nepotism and friend thing will not get you where you need to go. You have to go where Bounty Killer say book. You have to go pressure your book, and you have to compete. You have to be the Bolts and Kishane Thompson and Asafa Powell and Shelley and Fraser. Yeah. You have to be you have to line up, and you have to run down the track, and you have to put in the work before you run down the track. Those 9.58 seconds wasn't just get up in the morning and run. It came with a lot of training. And so through the sweat and hard work, the rewards will come. And remember, you know, we know through the chief musicians a Psalm of David, and God has blessed the musicians and the talented people. Big up yourself, Short Boss, and the talented people. We understand that. And when people have their talents, it shouldn't be suppressed. There shouldn't be no politics to prevent people with their talent to shine. And so I did see a report, and I did see Deborah Hicklin, which is the cultural spokesperson, speak out against police officer kick down and mash up somebody's sound system. If you know the importance of the culture and what the sound system means, and somebody has spent their money to pay for it, whether it be a car sound, whether it be whatever, and if you appreciate, you know, walk a mile in somebody's shoes and appreciate the culturally where somebody is coming, you wouldn't mash up somebody hand cart where them bill and use as means of transporting things. You don't just step on people's hopes and dreams like that. And so again, that abuse of process and the power dynamics in all of that. We have to have the conversations, and we must remain and I'm trying to find the word, but we must not compromise our morals. We must not compromise our, I don't know. We have a lot of work to do, and it takes vision, and we must end. It starts with a conversation, but I think that guidance is what people need. Having interface with the youth with the youth population in Portland, I have a full understanding that the ambition is very high, and the imagination stretch much further than the understanding of even those of us who are older, a generation where they've been using technology a lot more than we have, and have access to information. It is just guidance in processing and finding the morality and the stability that we want for our society. That's what's lost on them, and encouraging them to participate in the best way, not just for their votes when the time comes, but for what their future looks like. And I mean, if we can understand and if we can appreciate that, I think we have a full we have a full direction that we can go. And so yeah, returning to that is where we need to be. And so that's just my take on the whole transformation of Case University. That's my whole take on providing a space within Portland Eastern for disability. And it's multiple. It's making allowances and grants for schools, especially early childhood. If there's a school, making increasing the building size, whether through donation and partnership with the United Nations, or the government takes it on and build the space with the access for persons with disabilities and the technology that flows with it and the maintenance that goes with it. And because these spaces are expensive spaces, and it will be a serious decision making or mechanism for Damien when he takes the reign as the education minister. Just to say that them gonna have to be prepared to be bad up, because empty promises make the most noise, and the worst thing for see is groundbreaking when nothing not going through. Them want another term for dig out your eye. We're not going to that. We're not going to deal with that. And so the vision is to be able to advocate, have the conversations, and most importantly, make it happen. And that's it. For me, my only thing that I will say is on a July 31st, for the world to see, I take the I. I'm possible. So I change the word impossible to I'm possible. I make the impossible possible. And as a doer, you know, it's not all the time you have to talk. It's just to say that you will see. And time come for that. Big up yourself. Desi, VGS, VS, blessings for the gift. Yeah, and I think that's where I would have concluded on what I wanted to talk about, because there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of putting the cart before the horse. There's a lot of putting resources and not paying attention to the needs of the people in its immediate state, i.e. It's rough not to have water. Just know that. It is a dehumanizing feeling to not have water. Drought is horrible. And the thing about it is, drought is something that happens all across Jamaica every year at a certain time. And so this thing where we wait for it to be a national emergency to respond in the billions, that requires a level of accountability, but you can get through the red tape because of its necessity, and you find yourself getting away with a lot of allocations because of the immediacy of it. But we have to think about catchment. You know, in 2014, when Trinidad had a drought, the government just took the decision to just kept dropping off water tanks and pipe and allowed the plumbers in the communities to set up the water tanks. And water tanks were giving away so much that when the truck would have dropped the tank, the people don't even want them anymore. And then you went to a place of where are the catchment areas and where are the water solutions, because tanks is supposed to be a backup, it's not supposed to be the driving force of your water distribution. And so sitting down every day trying to figure out why it got so bad, and being in Portland and not having water, and then every time you look or every time you hear that a truck, is a water truck, and the people always have to either buy it, but you spend your whole day and then time come for wash your hand and no water in the end of the pipe, much less wash under your arm and wash your privates and wash your foot. And then it's not everybody gonna be blessed to have 300 pairs of shoes. And if you do have 300 pairs of shoes, the time is so hot that the shoes rotten. So you can't wear 300. So you have to strike the balance. But the point I'm making, if you only have 1 shoes and 3 socks, your foot are gonna stink, and no water, not in the pipe. Right? You need to make the right choice. Sweetie, praying for you. I said that I'm in so much pain right now because of sickness, but my wish is for the people of Jamaica to make the right choice, and for you and the PNP to do everything that they can't steal it. Fret not thyself. It is written already. It is written. Somebody said the green lizard people need to leave Portland for it to be prosperous. It's ironic, but on a day like today, we don't speak of lizard. So 9 years and many people. In fact, 9 years and there are people who had water that don't have water now. That's the irony of it. But guess what? I hope that I would have brought some knowledge to my listeners today. I thank you guys so much for listening. I thank you guys for tuning in. I must say that I want to big up my communications team. They do an amazing job in terms of getting the information out there, especially at a time where media, let's just say media is focused elsewhere and puts out their angle, not all angles, but their angle of what they want you to hear. So big up to communications, but big up to my team on the ground as well. And those who have decided to join the team when they were once on the other side, but have come to this side. But most importantly, to big up Walking in Divine Purpose, who always puts out the GoFundMe and always tell people to donate. And big up to all those who donate. I appreciate you. Shout out to Verona, who is handling the whole back to school drive thing. Appreciate you. Wolves and acolytes, you might have to message me on TikTok to get the number. Big up yourself. But yeah, so thank you all for watching and tuning in. Nobody sent me a lion, but big up on yourself anyway. Now look panuno. Big celebration, July 31st, and no send me lion. Last year they sent me so much lion. We could have go buy a car. Verona, big up yourself also, Verona, because it's this year, last year that I met you. Anyway, yeah, that is it. I think this is the show. And I've said a lot, but I hope that somebody did manage to get information. Yes, I will check my inbox as soon as the show is wrap up. I'm trying to wrap up the show, but so much messages coming in, I can't read them all, but I'm doing my best. Hey, you guys notice that I've gone through 2 shows without wearing my glasses. It's called vision. Yeah. So that being said, for those of you who are tuned in on Reggae Global Radio and Reggae Global TV, big up yourself. Thank you all for watching. For those of you who are tuned into TikTok, boy, I don't even have to tell them to press the hearts because they do that for me. Everybody is prompting me to talk about the court ruling on the Prime Minister's application to strike out portions of an affidavit that he said was scandalous in relation to his lack of ability to have his statutory declaration certified. But because this is not a news program, we're not really talk about that because, yeah, we'll leave that alone. So have a peaceful weekend. I remember that our national heroes, our forefathers, our people before us, we fought diligently and honestly, and we went all out. Some of them died to ensure that we were emancipated and to also get a constitution that formed part of the Queen's Diary. And I wonder if King Charles has the Queen's Diary from the Order in Council and if it's preserved. But the Jamaican Constitution, the first in this Caribbean, and we are the first nation to get independence in the Caribbean. So we are always championing and moving forward. So we are at an impasse where this election is about that. Who will cause us and champion our cause to get it right for the next generation and the future of all our kids, not just theirs? Who will protect the black people in this country, the least among us? Who will ensure that the least among us get land and get, if we are sell up on the roadside, them no kick down with stall. If we have a sound system and a plate, them no kick it down and kick out the box and mash up our living and our joy and our happiness. Who will protect us from that? Who will ensure that when the Charter of Rights is placed into the new constitution, it's not whittled down by language that makes it weak? Just think on these things, because when you go to the polls, you're doing it to change your life and change the trajectory for the future of this country. Time come for a better life. Big up on yourself. And I tell you this, I will see you guys next week in a new month. Yeah, man. Blessings, manners, and respect. Wow, that sounds like a big gift. Big gift? Big gift.
It took some time to understand. Yeah. Just what it takes to be a man. Now it seems each day you learn something to make a better way. Growing up ain't just a phase, it's reality. And sometimes it's hard to face the world with your head screwed on. But in time you will see it comes naturally, like the hurt and the pain. It's a part of the game. It's all a part of life, to laugh and to cry. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it stride. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. right. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. No, I heard them say life much better you live it your own way. But if you need a helping hand, just call on me, I will be your friend. And when it gets hard to face the world with your head screwed on, just tell yourself you can. And that's when you'll understand that the hurt and the pain, it's a part of the game. It's all a part of life, to laugh and to cry. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep your stride. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep your stride. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. You gotta keep on moving on. Don't let no one stand in your way. Gotta keep on pressing on. As we pray for better days, keep it moving. Moving to the next. When they try to bring you down, we gotta take it. Take it to the next level when they come around. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep your stride. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep your stride. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. Just keep your head up, yeah. Just keep your head up, yeah. Gotta keep your head up, yeah. 'Cause everything's gonna be alright.
Keep your head up. Keep your head up. Keep your head up.
'Cause everything's gonna be alright.